Hi everyone, welcome back to the Art of Safe Scumming, and today we are doing another campaign review, this time covering Belegar IronHammer. And I said that I was going to play 50 turns minimum on all the campaign reviews before I reported back to you guys, and I'm going to violate that rule for this one and this one specifically because we have something here that is very pertinent to the campaign. So I am about to take Carrick 8 Peaks. So you can see here, we're going to do it live, minus 9,294, and that is with the 50% upkeep increase for not having Carrick 8 Peaks. Malachi is going to go ahead and occupy that settlement, and you can see that it basically knocks, you know, roughly 7 and some change off of that. Now, when it comes to Carrick 8 Peaks itself, if we go in here and look at the special buildings that are available, we have campaign movement range 20% when in the region, growth all provinces, upkeep all armies, more stuff for the local province, trade tariffs 10%, and then if we go to this one over here, control, and then it goes from melee defense and control to infantry units and negative corruption. And then this one enables magical attacks for all units faction-wide. And that's pretty impactful. Particularly, we're going to be pushing down into this region over here. And, of course, we have Scarbrand over here. So having magical attacks when dealing with his demons will be huge, because now that you have opened yourself up to the whole Badlands area with Belegar, you're going to need all of that magical attack, because not only are you going to have Queek piling on top of you now that you've taken Carrick 8 Peaks, but then you're going to have to deal with everybody down here. So that is now something that is going to cause this campaign to basically spiral out of control. Now that we have this situated, I want to go back and talk about Belegar and his unique campaign start. He starts right here, and it puts him in a unique position to be able to take Skaven Blight on turn 3, basically. So you come over here, you fight this army, you force march him over here, you jump in the underway on turn 2. Turn 3, you take Skaven Blight pretty easily using the Ancestor Heroes that he has, which we'll cover here shortly. And that allows you to get Skaven Blight. As you can see here, I'm about to go up to Tier 4 Skaven Blight, but one of the things that I have spent here is the Great Gate, giving me access to deeps. And this is what has basically allowed my economy to stay somewhat on track throughout this entire campaign experience, because I ended up spending a fair amount of effort up here in the Empire, basically trading all these resources out, or all these regions out, excuse me, to the Empire for resources. And the only thing that I'm going to keep is going to be Southern Sylvania, and that's just because it has this gold mine in it. And that's reasonably worthwhile once fully upgraded. I'm going to do a Grundny spam. I'll basically just move, where is it? This Grundny spam of characters over to Southern Sylvania, and I'll get all of these buildings for free. So that makes it worth actually taking something with a major resource like this in it. And that's about the only way that you can justify it in Orange territory when it comes to the dwarves, because they've got plenty of other opportunities out there. Now, when it comes to his campaign start, again, you're kind of told, or not really told, but predisposed to go up this way. I am telling you to not do that initially. You should actually send Belegar's army over here to deal with Morgar. And after you've taken out Morgar, you will basically end up with a revolt over here at Tabaro, or in Magrita if you took Magrita. But basically, you pretty much have to take Tabaro because Ikit will be sitting here. And once you've taken that, don't build it up, don't do anything with it. Let that revolt take it, and it will be Estalia. And when factions recolonize from being dead, they get a big bump in economy as far as like whatever they got in their quote unquote bank. So you can liquidate the computers or the AI's entire treasury in a single turn by just piecing out with the new emerged faction of Astalia and then trading them this region over here. And now you got an extra 20K in the bank that you didn't have before, and then you can sell the rest of these regions to Carcassonne. To take these two territories, you should confederate Carrick, which you'll get a dilemma to do. Use that army to jump over here and capture these regions. You can then sell all of this orange territory to Elspeth and get the defensive alliances and all that sort of stuff. It's useless to you anyway, and you've got another punching bag for somebody else to beat on, basically. So that is how I would manage these territories, and then anything green, trade to the dwarves over here. And then basically, after taking this region and the Hearn region, you're now set up for your run on Carrick 8 Peaks. Now, what I would say about the way that this campaign feels to me is that this is very challenging. Okay, so if you're looking for a dwarf campaign that is kind of like in your face and challenging, like unnecessarily challenging, then this is probably the one for you. And the reason I say that is that 50% reduction or 50% increase in upkeep and thus 50% less economic power that you're going to have in your campaign, you're going to feel it, and you're going to want to get over here as quickly as possible. Now, one of the things that makes it a little bit easier is all these Ancestor Heroes that Belegar gets. You'll notice that you can see where the upkeep should be. There is no upkeep for these four. Now, these four plus Belegar are an army to themselves. So keep that in mind. You may not have to have a full stack to win a lot of battles simply by virtue of having these guys in the army. And you get them, they are as follows. You get a Master Engineer, you get a Runesmith, and 2 Thanes. And basically what I would tell you to do is set one of the Thanes up to do this one for your Hammerers. And I've since had to replace some of the Hammerers that I was able to get. And then the other one you should set up with Wanderer, and that gives you your stuff for your Rangers. And that works for Bugman Rangers as well. So that's how I would do that. And then basically I would play very defensively in these regions here, consolidate this province, take Skaven Blight, build this up, use the deeps to level out your economy a little bit, and then take any advantage that you can when it comes to attacking various things. Vlad's down to 1 settlement here, and you'll be able to trade all these regions to anybody in the area. I recently got a confederation through diplomatic means with Zufbar, so I was able to get some extra territory off that. But for the most part, what you're looking at here is a feel like you are in exile. And I think that's very thematic, but I do think that this 50% that you're dealing with as far as the campaign mechanic is concerned is a little bit too punishing, to the point where it does... Let's go back to the starting position here. Starting here, you have so many different options that you could go for. You could go for the Skaven Blight Morgur route. You could go immediately up this way, consolidate this. Take out all of this in Athelorn so you could get that legendary grudge over here. Not that one. This one. Get the logging camp at the Oak of Ages. You could totally do that. But you can't really do that because your economy is hurting you so bad. You don't really have the bandwidth to be able to march into Athelorn with 2 stacks and wreak havoc over here. You're going to have to do all the other stuff first. Go get Carrick Gate Peaks, then come back. And the reason you can't do that is that 50% is so punishing. So if they wanted to open this campaign up a little bit, I agree with the concept of having Belegar predisposed to going back to Carrick 8 Peaks, but the 50% shoehorns you into basically rushing over there as soon as possible. If they reduce that to 25%, I think they could still get the same effect of wanting to go back to Carrick Gate Peaks. Don't ignore it. Make sure that you get over there as quickly as possible. But it is no longer like I have to basically avoid everything else before getting Carrick Gate Peaks. And as I showed you beforehand, just having a couple small armies walking around, like none of these armies were particularly awesome armies, right? That one. And actually, I recruited half of that over the intern. This one has been running around like this. And then these two other ones, these little tiny ones over here that are just basically trying to box in Vlad so Elspeth can come in there. Not a lot. And this army over here that Malachi has, I recruited this in 2 turns. So that brings me up to Belegar's individual skill line. This is possibly one of the best skill lines in the entire game. And a lot of this looks very familiar to you, especially if you play dwarves, but this special line is awesome. Rally the Holds. Global recruitment duration -1. Global recruit capacity +1, and diplomatic relations with dwarves. That's pretty impactful. Anybody who ever does that, any legendary lord that ever has something that reduces global recruitment duration is already S tier. Recruit rank +2. And recruit capacity locally +2. We got some oath gold from buildings in the local province, leadership when in foreign territory, and charge bonus. Ammunition 200% for minor units, melee attack +5 for rangers and bolt throwers. That basically brings them a little bit into all of these. Really bring them into a more they're kind of squishy units, and I don't use bolt throwers, but the miners and the rangers, you are basically going to have to use those in this campaign. And because of that extra 5, that negates some of the AI cheats that you're getting when you're playing on Legendary. So by putting that back in, it actually makes these not just disintegrate as soon as they get in contact, because you're going to use those rangers to go up there and harass the enemy because you can't really afford anything else. Thanes, all provinces, recruit capacity +2 for Thanes and 10% physical resistance for your army, which is basically 10% ward save across the board, provided that you aren't fighting against something with magical attacks. Campaign movement range +10, construction cost -30% for province, capital, settlement buildings, faction wide, and then shattering aura for siege battles. Again, Belegar has an awesome skill line, which kind of balances out the fact that he is hamstrung so considerably starting his campaign. So I guess what my take on the Belegar IronHammer situation is as follows. He is an awesome legendary lord. He gets these legendary heroes that are equipped to or attached to his army, and you get those whether you confederate him or not. Whether you start with him or whether you confederate him, you get those Ancestor Heroes. So my take on Belegar is play as a different legendary lord and confederate him. The only other thing that I would say about Belegar before we get going is if you are looking for confederations, like if you're wanting to do a whole bunch of confederations, then Belegar really blows it up when it comes to his Age of Reckoning. If you look at my grudges right now, That's like roughly 20% better than I'm doing in most other campaigns. And I've done no legendary grudges. I've only done one quest battle. So, for instance, I am right on track here pretty soon to get... I won't be able to get Thorgrim Grudgebearer. He's still alive too. But here pretty soon, I would be able to get my choice of Grombrindal, Thoric, or Ungrim. And that is because I just confederated like 2 turns ago Malachi McCason. So all of these, except for Thorgrim Grudgebearer, were all available at the same time. But in my opinion, Malachi McCason is the best confederation that you can get immediately if you're not playing as him, because by getting him, you now have this ability to do Spirit of Grumney and drop ship whatever army you want to the local region, because he can have all of these buildings situated. There's not really much restriction except for the airship capacity to build a whole bunch of buildings that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get in your campaign at whatever stage it is. So Malachi, even though he's got limited recruit slots with the Spirit of Grumney recruitment, it's still possible to get a wider breadth of units that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. And for some reason, I can't see... Oh, there it is. So look at all the stuff that we can get through Spirit of Grumney right now versus at Carrick 8 Peaks. So I could just drop in a couple of these units if I need to defend this, which I will need to defend this because I just took this from Queek, and he's going to be very pissed about that. So I guess, again, to reiterate my take on this campaign, this is a very challenging campaign. It is a campaign that doesn't need to be as challenging as it is, and I think that because it is as challenging as it is, it limits the options a little bit, and I think that you're just better off if you want to play dwarves, especially a long-term dwarf campaign, to play as one of the other legendary lords and confederate Belegar. Because while he does get some of this special stuff over at Carrick 8 Peaks, that is not nearly as impactful as his individual skill line, and that is only kind of balanced out by this whole mechanic with Carrick 8 Peaks. And I just feel like you can get more out of another legendary lord and confederate Belegar. He should be considered immediately for confederation because of all the stuff that he gets for his global bonuses, but only slightly misses out to Malachi's direct combat prowess because he has access to Spirit of Grumney. So that's my take on the Belegar IronHammer campaign. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know if I got it right, what you think in the comment section down below, and hopefully we'll see another one here at the Art of Scumming.